Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. My name is Mayowa, and today I'm joined by, are you a fashion designer?
I guess you could say that.
Yeah, so I'm joined by fashion designer Reni or Abina.
Both.
Okay, Reni Abina slash
Okay,
Kekereko. So how are you feeling today?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm okay. So when we do this, I like to ask people a silly question just to
Okay.
try and get like an idea of their personality.
Fair.
So if you could forget yourself for the rest of your life or forget who everyone else is, which would you rather? And why?
I think forget myself and still remember everyone else. Because if I remember myself and forget everyone other, I don't know what life is.
Yeah.
But I might be able to adapt into someone else and still have all the people that I know around me.
Okay.
So I think so,
I like
yeah.
the logic.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Mayowa. I'm a lawyer, writer, and journalist, and I'm also editor-in-chief of Culture Custodian. Overnight Success is an interview series where I speak to some of my favorite creators and entrepreneurs on the journeys and stories that got them to where they are. That is, young, successful people doing interesting things. I don't think there's any such thing as an overnight success, or is there? Find out more by watching this video. And when you're done, please subscribe, like the video, leave a comment, and share it with as many people as possible. Thank you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Overnight Success. Yeah. Talk to me about your childhood. You've got how many?
I have two siblings.
So you got the twins.
Yeah.
Just
I'm the
them?
last. Yeah.
Okay, and so talk to me about growing up. What's the age difference between you guys?
4 years.
So talk to me about growing up 4 years younger than your twin brothers, who obviously were each other's best friends,
Yeah.
and you had to kind of figure it out like yourself.
To be fair, I think I had a happy childhood. So even if, so my mom used to make me go places with them. So if they're going to their friend's house, you have to take your sister along, which I think was annoying for them, but for me it was great. So
Yeah,
I think
can
that
imagine.
helped us kind of have like a bond. And we actually shared a room till I was 10. So even though the house had other rooms, I remember not getting my own room until my 10th birthday. So we're kind of always in each other's spaces. So even if they were twins, there wasn't really they're kind of playing on their own and I'm there because they're kind of forced to play with me. So I think my childhood it was good. There wasn't really any, I mean, sometimes I'm forced to play by myself, but because I wasn't always alone, I didn't feel alone, if that makes sense.
Okay, so
Yeah.
did you ever go through like a tomboy phase or any of it
No, I
stuff
think
like
I've
that?
always been a girly girl.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you were a child, what brought you joy? What made you happy?
Cartoons, Disney Channel, traveling, going on holiday, summer holiday. I used to always look forward to summer
Why?
because we used to travel. So you know when you come back from school, from summer, and they tell you to write how I spent my summer.
Yeah,
Mine
yeah.
was always very filled. It was like, oh, I went to Disneyland, I went to this auntie here. So yeah.
Okay, and what's the first thing you did for money?
I used to have a hair, but I still have a hair brand. So I used to do hair in A levels and uni.
Okay.
So that was the first like personal income that I had.
Why hair? Like, how did you end up there?
So it actually started from me doing my hair myself. So I think the first time I ever did my hair, so when I say doing my hair, I mean like sewing in a weave. It was the summer before A levels, and I had done my hair in Nigeria. I went to visit my brothers, and then my hair was coming undone. And then I had asked Kennedy to take me to the salon to get it fixed, and he was like, "Oh yeah, that's going to be expensive." And I mean, I was in secondary school. I didn't have, my pocket money was tiny. I was like, "It's fine. I'll just do it myself." And I tried, and it worked. So for me, it's like, okay, when I go for A levels and uni, I don't have to go to a salon to get my hair done. I can do it myself. So I started doing my hair myself, and obviously you're going to have friends that are like, "Oh, help me do mine as well." So maybe for like the first year in A levels, I was doing it for free. And then I got good at it, so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this for free anymore. And I basically started charging. So that was like my supplementary income to my pocket money throughout A levels and uni. So for like 5 years.
Okay, so what did you like? What did you do at uni?
Law.
Okay, so you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
So why did you like decide to leave law life 9 to 5?
So I started, like, the first time I actually practiced law was NYSC. And the truth is, like, from my very first day in court, I was like, yeah, this is it for me. First of all, I was flustered. It wasn't what I was expecting. When I was in union, I would watch like Suits and Co. I'm like, oh yeah, Suits really lied to a lot of us. So that's what I was expecting. So when I walked into court, I'm just like, this isn't really it. But I mean, I had to kind of do it for the whole year. So I thought to myself, okay, maybe it will grow on me, but it never did. And then I tried corporate law, and I mean, I was good at it, but I wasn't enjoying it. So it actually started when I said, okay, let me do a master's, and I'm thinking if I don't want to do law long term, I'm not going to do a master's in law. So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll do an MBA. So that kind of started my trajectory into moving towards business.
Okay, so you've spoken obviously about being a lawyer, and because that realization you have is, I think, something I can relate to. Like, I can tap into that, because I think, to be honest, I don't think I actually ever wanted to really be a lawyer. I think
Fair.
I just wanted to try it out and see that, again, it wasn't something I wanted to do. But then, like, what other businesses, like what other, so you've spoken about obviously doing hair, and there's the more obvious one that we're not getting to yet, but there's like, what else did you try and do to make money?
So when I first moved back to Nigeria, a friend of mine was like into nightlife. So he would like, maybe he would have a bar or something, would give him a night once a week. And you bring people in, you promote a night, and you basically get a cut of whatever the revenue is for that night. So I tried that for maybe about a year. Yeah, about a year. We did 2 different locations. But then it just wasn't really me, because I also find that with those type of businesses, you have to do a lot of like speaking to people and conveying. That just wasn't me. Like with Rendoll, it sells itself. Do you get what I mean? People see it, they like it. But with this, there was just a lot of communication. And half the time, I didn't even want to be out. So how do I want to convince someone to come out when it's not really my thing as well? So that didn't last very long, but it brought an income for that point in time, so it worked.
Okay, so at what point did Rendoll come in?
2019, so it's 3 years. It was 3 years yesterday or the day before.
Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. It was, so I actually only realized recently that I tried to start a clothing line earlier with a friend of mine who was like much older, and it was just based on, I had just moved back to Nigeria, we were making clothes with tailors, and it was almost like, oh, let's make this into a business, but that never came to life, and that kind of went down the drain. But when I decided to start Rendoll, it was actually in traffic. Like, I remember I was driving towards toll gates, and I don't know what I saw, maybe like a building or a fashion something, and I was like, you know what, I've already started making clothes for myself in terms of like coming up with design and giving it to my tailor to make for me, so I might as well just turn this into a business. It was so informal. It wasn't like I had a lifelong dream to do it. It was just like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And I remember meeting up with Koye, we're still dating, they're not married, and I was like, oh, I'm starting a clothing line and I'm calling it Rendoll. And he's looking at me like, okay, because maybe he takes longer to process things. For me, it's like, I decided I'm doing it now, and I'm doing it, and that's it. So I didn't even really give myself time to talk myself out of it. I came up with the idea in May. By June, I had registered the company. By July, I had brought out my first collection. So there was no time to say I'm not doing it again. And when I'm already in something, then I just go with the flow.
Okay, so I think going from what you said, so you said you tried to start a fashion business initially.
Yeah.
Why do you think that failed? Why do you think that didn't work out?
I'm actually grateful that it didn't, because the dynamic was, the person I was going to start it with, it wasn't like a partner's dynamic. It was like, oh, she's a much older sister kind of dynamic. And I don't think it would really have worked out. Knowing my personality and like how present I am and stuff, I don't think like taking a back role in whatever fashion business we had started at that time would have worked for me. And even just, I think definitely my MBA did help me a lot in terms of like structure and how to start it. Back then it was, even the type of clothes, like my style has also changed from when I wanted to do it the first time and now. So I feel like even the style of clothes that I would have made at that time it's just not me, basically. So it wouldn't have worked at that time.
Okay, so if I ask you like one key lesson you learned, like from that initial tryout, what would you say? Like, what would you say it is?
So At that time, we never really like made any samples, for example. It was just discussions. I had kind of done maybe numbers and co. One lesson I would say is, know the industry that you're going into before you start. So starting Rendoll, I did a lot of research, looked at competing brands, how they were going about it. At that time, there was I didn't even know what the fashion industry in Nigeria was. I didn't know what level different brands were on, how people were pricing their things. It was just, okay, let's do it. But at the time even when I started Rendoll, and I'm saying that there wasn't like a big plan, I was more aware of what things were going on, of how things were going. So I would say just know what you're getting into, basically.
Okay, so knowing what you know now, would you still have done it?
Now or back then?
So with the knowledge you have now
Yeah.
of how it is to like build a fashion business,
Yeah.
would you still have made that decision you made then?
100%.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good. That means it worked out.
Yeah.
So what was the first, so you spoke about like the first design you had or like the first collection. Like, so what was
Yeah.
the first design and how did that come about? Like, what were you trying
So
to
I think even in the
create?
last 3 years, a lot of things that I've made at Rendoll have been influenced by my personal style. So it's a lot of things that I would like to wear. These days, I'm trying to not make it all about me because I have one style and there are like 500 different styles in the world. So I'm trying to not make it a lot about me, but there's a lot of my personal style did go into it. But I also like how my style continues to evolve because sometimes I look back at my first collection and I'm actually cringing because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that people actually bought this. But I would say there was a lot of me in it and where I was at in my fashion stage or life at that point.
Okay, so building Rendoll, so it's a business that's just turned 3.
Yeah.
What would you say the most valuable or important lesson you've learned has been?
Perseverance, because some days it's so hard, honestly. And I think you just need to remember why you started, which is why I think you need to have a strong why. Because if you just kind of started something, if you're somebody that jumps into everything that you feel like is making money, for example, the second it gets hard, you might want to move to something else. So you have to remember why you started it, and because especially in Nigeria, running a business is really hard. So on the days where things are hard, I just think of why I started, how I enjoy it, and that keeps me going.
Okay, so you've touched on something I was very curious about. So like, I have enough knowledge to know how hard fashion is.
Yeah.
It's not even a Nigerian thing.
Just
It's a
general,
general
yeah.
thing. But in the Nigerian context, so you have e-commerce slash, then you also have logistics, then you also have like standardization with tailors. Like, how have you been able to like figure out solutions to all those problems?
So I don't have any background in fashion. Like I didn't learn fashion in school or anything of that sort. So at the beginning, there were a lot of things that I didn't know. So I relied a lot on my tailor's knowledge. Now that mistake was they're not exposed. So they're making, there's this analogy I use at work. I'm like, I'm not an underbridge tailor, so I'm not going to be making clothes that don't have like proper standards. So I would say at the beginning, because I didn't know a lot of stuff, I was relying on whatever they said. So all I knew was, does it look good or doesn't it look good? I don't know why something is rough, but I know that it's rough. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
But like with time, because I've like built my knowledge, I've done a lot of research, I can tell if something goes wrong. I can say, okay, because you sewed it this way or because you didn't use this stitch, that's what has caused the problem. So yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough, but it's very rewarding.
So what's your creative process like? Like, so for a business that's in its 3rd year,
Yeah.
and again with fashion, it's like it's very dynamic, it's very fast moving, and you want to kind of obviously be at the forefront with trends and not catching up. So when you're conceptualizing, like, or when you're deciding, you know what, I will need to put out a new collection, what does that process look like?
So you mentioned something about trends, and that's one thing that I've tried to not get into. For example, so with fast fashion, they can do trendy things because maybe you're buying a top for £25, £30. It's cheaper. So you can keep changing your style every month, and people are still going to buy because it's not as expensive. But when you're on a higher level where your pieces aren't readily affordable by everybody, you can't keep jumping on trends because people can't keep buying that quickly.
Yeah.
You get what I mean? So I try not to I mean, I don't want to be making clothes that people were wearing in the 60s, for example. But I try not to be too, oh, block heels are in, let's do that. Or this is in, let's do that. I try to kind of minimize it. And for me, I want to make pieces that you can still wear 5 years from now. Because I found that even in my shopping habits, earlier on I would buy things that were in. But now I only try to buy things that I ask myself, can you wear this 3 years from now? And if it doesn't seem like the kind of style that I can keep in my wardrobe for a long time, I'm not going to buy it. And I think a lot of people that buy from my brand are like me, or they're in that financial stage, they're in that like pre-30, just over 30, etc. So no, so it's like you dress a bit more, I don't know if the word is not mature, but a bit more expensive, let me put it that way. And you don't want, no, it's a thing, I'm telling you, and you don't want to, you don't want to buy something that you can't wear it again. Like, it's expensive, so you can't be buying, let's say, £200 shirt every 2 weeks, every 1 week, etc. And then you wear it once and that's it. So you try to buy things that can stand the test of time, basically.
Okay, and I think another thing that kind of is obvious with your brand is the inclusivity.
Yeah.
So why was that important to you? Like, why is that something you decided you needed to like include in?
So I don't even think that it was really a decision. It was more of, it's the normal thing to do. So, for example, like a lot of people think that, okay, maybe the average size in Nigeria is like a size 8. So for example, I'm like a size 10, but the average size in Nigeria is like a 14, 16. So I don't really understand why you would close yourself off to a large amount of the population and only make like smaller sizes. So for me, I just want everyone to be able to wear my clothes. It wasn't really like a conscious thing that, oh, I mean, yes, we do want to be inclusive, but I feel like it should be automatic. Do you get what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So I just want everybody to be able to come on my website and see something that they like and buy it without thinking, oh, that's not going to fit me. Or I feel like the reason why a lot of brands don't go bigger is because they have a false perception that bigger people don't want to buy those type of clothes, for example, or they don't have the market for it, or if they do, the sizes are going to waste. But like I said, like average size in Nigeria is a 16, so there's definitely a market.
So
for
basically,
it.
you're playing yourself if you don't do that.
Definitely.
Okay, so and then I think the other thing I'm always curious about with fashion is how do you embed sustainability? So how do you build a brand that is here today and is going to be here in 10 years' time?
I think you definitely need to have like a strong brand identity. Like people need to see. So I've only just realized recently that some people see some pieces and they think they just knew that it was a Rendoll piece. I don't know how. I don't know what caused that, but it's a good thing. So I think you need to have like just a strong purpose, and that you also communicate to your clients, like they know what your brand is about, etc. Like even the way, so for example, like with our pictures, you can see like I use like expensive photography, which at the beginning I couldn't even afford. So at the beginning I was taking pictures with my iPhone, but then I just realized at a point that you need to look a certain way, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what would make us sustainable like around 10 years from now is also, there's also the me in that I want to keep doing it. It's something that I actually want to see like grow to an international level where it's like a household name. So there needs to be like a strong purpose driving it, but then you also need to make your customers like believe in your brand, that they want to grow with the brand.
Okay. So something I kind of feel like I've noticed with your brand is obviously, and I think it's a fashion thing generally, is about like using influencers, building relationships. Like, what's your approach to like building relationships?
So I think influencers have really helped with Rendoll, but there's also, I'm not trying to sound discriminatory, but I feel like the right influencers. Mm-hmm. So if you want a certain type of person to buy your product, you have to work with people that they look up to. Do you get what I mean? So even with working with influencers, I feel like I've been picky with the people that I've worked with, the people that I feel like they fit to like the image and the brand that I have. But I think they've definitely helped. And people think that, oh, there's this perception that, oh, once I give an influencer my outfit and they wear it, I've blown. It's really not that. Sometimes you might not even get sales from it, but I think you should look at more than sales. It's like, okay, do you get any followers from it? Do people save the post, etc.? Because a lot of the times, let's say an influencer can wear my brand, you don't like that dress. You know, you can see something like, okay, that looks nice, it looks expensive, but it's not my
not for me.
taste. Exactly. But you can still follow the brand because you know that, okay, in the future, they might bring out something that works for me. So yeah, I would definitely say work with the influencer, but the right influencer. Like you need to look, there needs to be a brand fit between you, both of you.
Okay, I think another thing I kind of feel that I noticed with Rendoll is there's like a community behind it. So it's like from the people who model to the people who are buying it. Like, how do you build such a community? Like a loyal, devout community?
You know, I think I've actually been lucky with that because it's still something that I'm trying to figure out. Because there's other brands, like I would say my competitors, but I also get inspiration from, and I see like their community, and I'm like, wow, I really want to have that. So I'm still winging that. I'm still trying to figure out how to. But I would say, in keeping the ones that I have now, I think it's just consistency. Like, if they buy something today and the quality is good, they don't want to buy something next week and the quality is bad. So you need to keep giving them consistent, and then you need to give back. So I would do giveaways. I would do, like, if you're signed up to a newsletter, if we have like a secret sale, you get priority to buy from that etc. And I think people definitely enjoy seeing the growth, because I got a message last week and she was like, wow, like the growth between this and your first collection is really evident. So they also know that you're trying to be better for them and they stick around.
Okay, so what keeps you motivated?
Yeah, I was about to say money. That was the first No, but like I think money definitely, but I also enjoy what I do. So I'm someone that likes dressing up. So it's being able to create pieces that other people are excited to wear also makes me happy. Customer satisfaction makes me happy. And just, I would say recognition, because I can also see like the brand growing, I can see things getting better. So that also gives me fulfillment.
Okay, and how do you absorb criticism?
You know, it's difficult. So as an entrepreneur, when like your brand is like your baby, it's very hard to separate yourself from the brand. Like I've had to learn that if someone says, I didn't like the finishing of my outfit, they're not saying, I didn't like you, or I didn't like your work, or I don't know how to explain it. It's like, they're not criticizing you, they're criticizing what went bad. So you need to be able to remove yourself and not take things too personally, because you also have to welcome criticism. So I'd rather you buy something and something is wrong with it and you tell me, and I find a way to fix it and make sure that it doesn't happen again, than you buy it and you just think, okay, I don't want to hurt her feelings, so I won't tell her. Because that's really bad for me, because I can keep doing that thing and I keep losing customers and I don't know why.
Yeah, no
so I welcome criticism, constructive criticism, because then you have people that just want to be mean for no reason. And those ones can sting. But at the end of the day, you kind of just, you just have to take it. You just have to take it.
So, anyone who follows you remotely knows that you're one half of a power couple. I think you guys call yourself K10? Renten. So,
Okay.
talk to me about Renten.
Well, Akoi is my best friend. So, we've been together 4 years now, like 4 years, and he's been very supportive. So, funny, at the beginning of Rendoll, before I started like using proper photography, he used to take all my pictures, because I used to model them myself. And even when
you say take my pictures, is it the one like where the boyfriend is like, you give your boyfriend the phone, it's like, oh, take a picture of me?
Oh no, like the official pictures for the websites.
Okay.
Yeah, because we used to do it with an iPhone. So he would take all my pictures. He wouldn't complain if it takes 7 hours. It takes 7 hours, and even just like when I would have pop-ups or events, he'll be there to help me. So I think he's definitely helped, like in a supportive way. And I don't know, when you say power couple, I mean, Koye is his person in his own right, and I think he has definitely like positively influenced my brand, because he also does have a lot of friends in the industry who are influencers in their own right. So obviously, Koye is married to this babe. She has a clothing line. It's more exposure. Not that I married him because it's exposure, but it has helped. It has definitely helped. And yeah, even just in terms of like advice. And so when I say things like you get some criticism that stings, you can't respond in a certain way to a client, but at least he will be my not punching back, but
But he'll
I
hear
can.
the
He'll
worst
hear my
version of your response.
exactly, and basically calm me down. Okay, maybe don't say it that way. Say it this way. So yeah.
Okay, so every time I go out, I get people asking me, it's like, how's married life? All those questions.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I know you're like early into that journey, but
Yeah.
how's it been for you?
I've enjoyed married life, and I think it's a lot of it. A lot of it is because of who I'm married to. So I don't really feel. I don't think anything really changed between when we were dating and when we got married, apart from like maybe the constant in each other's space. And we both work from home, so we're always in each other's space. But I think our dynamic allows us to be our own people in a shared space.
Okay.
You get what I mean? So I don't feel choked, and we respect each other's. I don't like this, I don't like that, so I wouldn't do that because so there are habits that I've changed because he doesn't like, and habits that he's changed. So there's a good compromise. The other day, he was playing music on his phone. I went to have a shower and I was playing music on my phone, and I didn't realize until like 5 minutes after I came out that we were both playing music, but no one complained. So we're in the same room and he's playing music on his phone and I'm playing on my phone.
That happens. That happens in my
exactly,
house.
Yeah. So everybody, you allow each person be their self, basically.
Yeah.
So there's room to breathe.
Okay. So we usually end these interviews by asking two questions.
Okay.
So one of them is, if there were any three people you would love to see sat down opposite me having this conversation, which three people would they be?
I can pick from my industry, yes?
Yeah, anyone.
Okay, I would say Bayo. He's a friend of mine. He owns a clothing brand, Orange Nerd.
Okay.
I think this dynamic would be good. I would say Tenny Sego. She owns a clothing brand, Clan. Yeah. And Koye, actually, because then he will make everything funny. So there wouldn't just be like straight answers like mine. Yeah, there would be a lot of innuendo and co in it. So yeah.
Okay. And then finally, I always ask everyone who comes here. So it's like, I've asked you all these questions. Is there any question you have for me? What is it?
Oh, okay, I wasn't expecting that one.
It's always good to keep you on your feet.
Fair. What are you trying to get out of? So I'm assuming that before me, you've spoken to a couple of other entrepreneurs. And
Yes,
after
I
me,
have.
you will.
Yes, I
What
have.
are you hoping to get out of the conversations?
So you're the second person to ask this question.
Okay.
So for me, it's very important. I'm very fascinated by people's journeys. So how someone goes from being born today to becoming XYZ.
Yeah.
And I always think that we don't pay enough attention to the process, because I think people always look at results. So it's like, someone looks at the final version of Rendoll or whatever, but they don't see like the years of grinding, the years of sending influencers messages who won't reply, who won't answer you.
It still happens.
And no one sees like the designs that were shit that nobody bought.
Yeah.
But it's all from and the idea is that anyone who is watching this, who has like, and the thing is, they don't even have to be like in your field or in your industry.
Just in any field.
But the idea is that
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah, you can take practicable steps that can obviously help you build a career that is sustainable, that is built on the right the right structure, the right framework, and I guess also to inspire people, because I think it's very important. Like if we think about it, we don't hear enough of like people's stories. We don't hear.
Just see the finish.
Yeah, we hear the parts that people.
I had to realize that the hard way, because I would compare myself to a lot of brands, and I would think, oh, why haven't I grown that fast? Or why haven't I? But you don't see all the things that happen behind the scenes. And I didn't realize that when people come to me and they say, wow, you've done so well, I really want to be there. And I'm just like, bro, if you know how hard it is.
For me, I think when I realized that, I was like, you need to be a bit not as hard on yourself as possible. Because like sometimes it's like the people you think you're competing with are maybe like in their 40s. And it's like,
oh my God, yes. And we do that a lot in this generation.
Yeah. And it's like,
comparing.
Dude, you're out of your mind.
Literally,
like
if you think
this
that
person has 10 years on you.
Literally,
and you're trying
100%.
to you're trying to basically run at the same pace as they are.
Sometimes you have one like Rendoll right now is literally me and 2 tailors. They have an assistant, and then I've just employed someone else. But I had to find out that you can't be comparing yourself to brands that have like loads of investment, maybe 50 employees.
Yeah.
Like it's not, you're not on the same level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's what I'm trying to do. I think like it's been very interesting talking to the people I have, and it's funny because I think everyone is saying similar things, but in different ways and in different
Yeah.
veins. So it's like, obviously, you spoke about like persistence. That's something I think someone else said earlier. So it's just about basically reminding people of the right values, the right things that help in building sustainable and
Yeah.
businesses that's like basically shake the ground.
I think people definitely need like this. I appreciate this platform because people need to know, even just like when you're just starting off and you're having a bad day, this is the kind of video that you can watch and you're reminded that everybody does have bad days,
Yeah.
and it's a bad day, not a bad world. You get what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good catch line.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Reni, for
You're
joining
welcome.
us.
Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
guys.